Trust. It sounds sacred, something that binds people together, that provides safety, that makes society possible. But what if trust isn't a virtue at all? What if it's an illusion, a quiet agreement built on convenience, routine, and self-protection? Niccolò Machiavelli, one of the most misunderstood thinkers in history, didn't see trust as a moral good. He saw it as a tactical risk. To him, trust wasn't a sign of strength. It was a signal of vulnerability, not a display of courage, but of carelessness. Why? Because every time you trust someone, you hand them power. You give them access to your plans, your intentions, your weaknesses. You hope they won't use it against you. You assume loyalty, but hope is not a strategy, and loyalty always comes with conditions. Machiavelli lived in a time of political chaos, betrayal, conspiracies, shifting allegiances. He saw firsthand, people are rarely guided by principle. They act based on interest. They stay loyal when it's useful. They abandon you when it's convenient. Trust then often means ignoring what's real. You hold on to an image of someone and miss what they're actually doing. That's what makes trust dangerous. Because betrayal never comes from your enemies. It comes from those you let too close, from those you thought were different. But as Machiavelli said, a prince who wishes to survive must not rely on what people say, but on what they do. In other words, watch actions, not words. Be suspicious of promises, analyze motives, because the core of every relationship isn't love, it's leverage. If someone no longer benefits from being loyal to you, they'll often find a reason to stop. And usually they won't warn you first. Is this cynical? Yes. Is it realistic? Also yes. Trust should never be automatic. It should be earned. And even then, never absolute. Because even the most honorable person can become desperate. Even the most loyal ally can turn when power shifts. Why? Because people protect themselves, not you. And when a crisis hits, ideals fade, and raw instincts take over. To trust in this kind of world doesn't mean trusting no one. It means never trusting blindly. It means constantly reevaluating dynamics. Who benefits, who loses, and how quickly those roles can reverse. Machiavelli doesn't tell us to live in fear. He tells us to live with awareness, to be strategic. Because the person who trusts without caution gives away control. The one who calculates before trusting remains sovereign. So ask yourself, who do you allow close? Who do you give power to? Who holds your secrets, your dependence, your loyalty? And what happens if their interests change? In Machiavelli's world, and maybe in yours, trust isn't a bridge, it's a minefield. And the one who walks across blindly shouldn't be surprised when it explodes beneath them. Suspicion is often seen as a flaw, a sign of bitterness, paranoia, or emotional damage. But to Machiavelli, suspicion wasn't a weakness. It was an art, a discipline, a survival instinct sharpened through experience and observation. In a world full of masks, suspicion isn't toxic. It's necessary. Why? Because most people are not what they seem. Everyone plays roles out of fear, ambition, strategy, or insecurity. And behind those carefully curated smiles are motives they'll never say out loud. If you trust too quickly, you're not just making a mistake, you're giving someone the perfect opportunity to exploit you. Suspicion isn't about constant fear, it's about control. It's not about cutting people off. It's about watching closely, listening deeply, and learning to read between the lines. Machiavelli saw the world as a chessboard. Every move has purpose, every gesture a signal. Those who survive and rise are not the strongest, but the most aware. The strategist sees patterns where others see coincidence. He notices shifts in tone, changes in alliances, sudden silence. A naive person believes what's said. A suspicious person watches what's done. Here's the truth. Everyone wants something. The colleague who flatters you might want your position. The friend who always agrees might be hiding resentment. The partner who promises everything might already be planning their exit. If you assume good intentions without verification, you become predictable. And predictability is the first step toward powerlessness. But real suspicion, the kind Machiavelli advocated, is not blind paranoia. It's measured, precise, strategic. It's not about assuming the worst in everyone. It's about knowing what they could become under pressure. You don't have to believe someone is lying to you. You just need to know why they would. It's not enough to ask, do I trust them? You must also ask, what do they gain by being loyal? And more importantly, what would they gain by betraying me? Suspicion gives you time. It gives you space to think before reacting. It allows you to test people without revealing that you're doing it, to place small traps and see who steps into them, not to harm, but to reveal. In politics, in business, in relationships, the rules are the same. You must protect yourself even from those closest to you, especially from them. Machiavelli didn't believe people were evil. He believed they were self-serving, and when loyalty and self-interest no longer align, betrayal becomes not just possible, but likely. Suspicion lets you stay 3 steps ahead. It teaches you not to speak openly to everyone, not to show your full hand, not to assume that goodwill today means protection tomorrow. In truth, the most dangerous people are rarely those who look like villains. It's the ones who seem safest, the ones who say all the right things, the ones who smile with sincerity and walk away with your secrets. But again, suspicion isn't isolation, it's sophistication. It means you understand the world not as you want it to be, but as it is. It means you don't reject trust entirely, but you never give it away for free. A wise man doesn't assume betrayal, but he's never surprised by it. Machiavelli would ask, would you rather be called paranoid and stay powerful, or be seen as trusting and end up blindsided? Because in the real world, suspicion isn't bitterness, it's vision. And without vision, even the strongest fall. Loyalty. A word that sounds noble, sacred. We speak of it with pride, as if it were unshakable, as if once someone pledges their loyalty, it becomes eternal. But Machiavelli, ever the realist, stripped that illusion down to its core. Loyalty is not eternal. It is transactional. People are not loyal out of pure principle. They are loyal when it serves them. Machiavelli watched leaders fall because they trusted in loyalty, trusted in the idea that friends, allies, or even the public would stand by them during hardship. But he understood something many still refuse to admit. Loyalty has a price, and when someone else offers more, loyalty shifts. That doesn't make people evil. It makes them human. In reality, people align with power, with opportunity, with benefit. When someone is loyal to you, the first question you should ask isn't, do they love me? Or do they believe in my cause? It's, what do they gain by standing with me? When their gain disappears, so might they. You've seen it. In politics, a leader is hailed as visionary until the polls drop. In business, a partner is praised as irreplaceable until revenue slips. In relationships, people speak of forever until forever becomes inconvenient. Machiavelli warned, never confuse temporary alignment with unshakable loyalty. Loyalty is fluid. It changes with incentives. The mistake isn't in welcoming loyalty. It's in assuming it's unconditional. This leads to an uncomfortable truth. If you want loyalty, you must anchor it. Give people a reason to stay, or a consequence if they leave. And more importantly, ensure that their interests stay tied to yours. A loyal ally must see your success as their success, your survival as their benefit, your downfall as their loss. Without that, loyalty is only borrowed, never owned. Machiavelli taught that a ruler must not rely on goodwill. He must build dependence. If someone cannot afford to betray you, they won't. But if betrayal opens doors for them, don't be surprised when they walk through. Still, this isn't a call for cruelty, it's a call for clarity. Real loyalty isn't proven when everything is going well. It's revealed in crisis, when the tide turns, when enemies rise, when rewards vanish. That's when you see who truly stands beside you. Not because they said they would, but because they can't afford not to. So how do you protect yourself? First, observe patterns, not promises. People say what they think you want to hear, but what do they do when you're not watching? What do they choose when you're no longer useful? Second, never tie your fate entirely to one person's loyalty. Diversify your dependencies, spread your influence. Make sure no one person holds the keys to your rise or fall. Third, reward loyalty, but don't overpay for it. Those who stay with you only for rewards will leave the moment those rewards shrink. Keep them interested, but not entitled. Machiavelli knew, those who understand the price of loyalty can manage it. Those who romanticize it will always be betrayed. So ask yourself, who's loyal to you right now, and why? What would change that? What do they really stand to lose if they turn on you? Because in the real world, loyalty isn't sacred, it's strategic. It can be built, it can be bought, but it must always be watched. Those who believe loyalty is permanent are often the first to be left behind. What is power, really? Is it wealth, position, authority? Those are its symptoms, not its source. Machiavelli understood power not as a thing, but as a perception. Power lives in the minds of others. You hold it when people believe you do, and you lose it the moment they stop believing. This is the psychology of power. It's less about what you have and more about what others think you have. We often imagine power as something static, a throne, a title, a crown. But in truth, power is fragile, constantly shifting, and psychological at its core. The ruler, the CEO, the influencer, they're powerful only as long as people fear disappointing them, admire following them, or dread challenging them. Machiavelli made this clear. It is better to be feared than loved if you cannot be both. Why? Because fear is consistent. Love is not. People love when it's easy. They fear when there are consequences. But let's be precise. Fear, in Machiavellian terms, is not terror. It's not abuse or domination. It's respect. It's the understanding that you cannot be crossed without cost, that your presence demands consideration, that your absence creates chaos. In the psychology of power, 4 principles matter. Appear strong even when you're not. Machiavelli understood that strength is often performance. No one is unshakable, but appearing unshakable makes people think twice before testing you. Confidence is contagious. Insecurity is too. Appearances matter more than truth because people react to what they see, not what is. Create dependency. The most effective form of power is not dominance, it's dependence. When people need you, when your presence, approval, or resources are essential, they behave. Create situations where others rely on you more than you rely on them. That's real leverage. But here's the catch. People hate feeling powerless. They resist openly when they feel controlled. That's why real power is often invisible. It operates through influence, not commands, through shaping narratives, not shouting orders. A true Machiavellian doesn't say, "Do this." He makes others want to do it themselves. Understanding the psychology of power means understanding people, their needs, their fears, their insecurities. A weak leader tells others what to do. A powerful one understands what they already want and guides it. That's why charisma is often mistaken for power. But charisma without control is noise. True power isn't about being liked, it's about being necessary. Think of the people you fear to disappoint, the ones you instinctively respect. Why? Is it their wisdom, their silence, their certainty? Power is psychological because it taps into the tribal part of the brain, the part that senses hierarchy, dominance, and threat. Machiavelli's genius was to remove morality from the question of power. He didn't ask, "Is this right?" He asked, "Does this work?" And when it comes to power, what works is simple. If people believe you control the outcomes, you do. So ask yourself, do others see you as someone to follow or someone to use? Do you shape the environment or adapt to it? Do you control your image or leave it to chance? Because in the world Machiavelli saw, and the one we live in, the most powerful man is not the loudest, but the one who doesn't need to speak. What is morality? To most people, it's a compass, a sense of right and wrong that guides behavior. We talk about justice, fairness, integrity as if they're eternal truths. But Machiavelli would have asked a different question. Who benefits from this morality? Because morality, for all its noble appearance, is not neutral. It's not objective. It's often a tool, and in the hands of the powerful, it becomes a weapon. Machiavelli wasn't against morals. He simply refused to pretend they were pure. He saw that morals are often used not to uplift, but to control, not to unify, but to dominate. Look at history. How many wars were justified by righteous causes? How many leaders destroyed their enemies by branding them immoral? How many reputations have been ruined, not by crimes, but by crossing the wrong moral narrative? In Machiavelli's world, morality is a battlefield. Those who know how to use it gain influence. Those who blindly follow it get used. Morality is powerful because it works emotionally. It bypasses logic. When someone is morally outraged, they don't debate, they accuse. They don't argue, they attack. And once someone labels you as immoral, you're no longer a person. you're a problem to be eliminated. That's why morality is so effective as a tool of power. It allows someone to claim the high ground while doing whatever it takes to win. Machiavelli's brilliance was in separating appearance from essence. He understood, you don't have to be moral, you just have to seem moral. People don't follow truth, they follow credibility. They follow symbols, appearances. If you can build a moral image, you can justify almost anything, and people will cheer for you as they obey. We see it every day. Corporations sell morality in ad campaigns while exploiting workers. Politicians preach virtue while scheming behind closed doors. Influencers speak of values until a better offer comes along. Morality is branding. So what does this mean for you? It means you must stop asking only, is this right? And start asking, who benefits if this is seen as right? Because behind every moral standard lies an agenda, sometimes obvious, sometimes subtle, but always present. A Machiavellian mind doesn't reject all morals. It analyzes them. It sees them as part of the battlefield, not sacred ground. It understands that whoever controls morality controls the narrative. But there's more. People are driven by the desire to be seen as good, not necessarily to be good, but to be seen that way. This makes them easy to manipulate. If you can give someone a moral reason to do what you want, they'll feel righteous, even if they're acting in your interest, not theirs. That's the genius of moral leverage. Make people feel like heroes while they serve your plan. This doesn't mean you must become corrupt. It means you must become conscious. Conscious of how morality is used, how it's framed, and how easily it can be turned against you. Because the person who believes they are unquestionably right is the most dangerous person in the room. And if you challenge them, they won't argue and they'll condemn. So how do you defend yourself? You build moral fluency. You learn to speak the language of values, but you never become a slave to it. You understand that image matters, and you shape yours deliberately. You know when to appear humble, when to claim the high ground, and when to say nothing at all. Machiavelli didn't ask you to become immoral. He asked you to understand morality, not as a code, but as a currency. And like all currencies, it can be manipulated. So ask yourself, who taught you what's right? Who profits from that definition? And are you following principles or playing into someone else's strategy? Because in this world, morality isn't always about justice. Sometimes it's just another way to win. We grow up being told that honesty is a virtue, that truth is sacred, that lying is wrong. But Machiavelli would raise a brow at those beliefs, not because he hated the truth, but because he understood a deeper truth. Deception is not the opposite of intelligence. It's a form of it. In a world built on power, perception, and positioning, honesty is not always rewarded. In fact, honesty can be dangerous when it exposes your strategy, reveals your weaknesses, or gives ammunition to your rivals. Deception, on the other hand, is not inherently malicious. It's tactical. It's the ability to shape what others see, to guide what they believe, to reveal only what serves you, and conceal what does not. Machiavelli never said, lie for the sake of lying. What he said, in essence, was, know when to tell the truth, know when to stay silent, and know when illusion is more useful than clarity. Why does deception work? Because people want to believe. They don't seek truth. They seek comfort, reassurance, certainty. If you give them what they emotionally desire, they rarely look deeper. This is the psychological opening that deception exploits, and it's everywhere. Brands sell identity, not products. Politicians sell stories, not policies. Leaders sell confidence, not competence. It's not what you are, it's what you can convince others you are. Deception is not always a lie. Sometimes it's an omission, a half-truth, a strategic silence, a moment of pretending not to know. It's the difference between speaking the truth and deciding which truth matters at that moment. To Machiavelli, a prince, or any strategist, must master appearances. Because appearance creates belief, and belief drives action. If people believe you're strong, they will hesitate. If they believe you're wise, they will listen. If they believe you care, they will follow. That's the power of controlled perception. But deception also serves a second purpose, defense. When you are too transparent, too open, too trusting, you make yourself predictable, vulnerable. You give others the blueprint to manipulate you, to counter you, to defeat you. Deception lets you mask your plans, keep your rivals guessing, avoid becoming a target. Sun Tzu said, all warfare is based on deception. Machiavelli would agree. Life, when power is involved, is warfare in disguise. and every battle is easier to win when your opponent doesn't know your next move. Still, this isn't a license to lie recklessly. Deception loses power when it's discovered. Once exposed, you lose trust. And trust, once lost, is almost impossible to recover. That's why the most effective deception is subtle, minimal, and always cloaked in credibility. The best deceivers aren't the loudest. They're the calmest, the ones who say less, who allow others to assume, to guess, to fill in the blanks. Because what people believe on their own is more persuasive than what you try to force them to see. So, how can you apply this? Be unreadable. Don't let people map your emotional patterns. Withhold strategically. You don't owe everyone the full picture. Use silence as a tool. What you don't say is often more powerful than what you do. Observe more than you speak. People reveal themselves when you give them space. Machiavelli would remind you, you don't win by being the most honest person in the room. You win by being the one who controls the frame. Truth is powerful, but in the hands of a strategist, illusion can be even stronger. So ask yourself, are you shaping perception or being shaped? Are you directing the story or merely playing a role in someone else's? Because in a world ruled by appearances, deception isn't betrayal, it's survival. We began this journey with a simple question: can you truly trust anyone? Now we return, not with fear, but with clarity. Because in Machiavelli's world, trust isn't the opposite of power, it's a form of it. To trust is to give someone power over you, but to manage trust, to understand it, to shape it, is to wield power over them. Most people view trust as an emotional bond, something sacred, something earned through kindness, honesty, or time. But Machiavelli saw it differently. Trust is a currency. It circulates based on influence, leverage, and need. The one who truly holds power in a relationship is not always the one being trusted, but the one who grants it strategically. Let's be clear, blind trust is weakness. Strategic trust is control. When you trust without limits, you expose yourself. You hand over leverage. You become predictable, vulnerable, easily manipulated. But when you selectively trust, when you observe before opening up, when you place others in a position where they need your trust, that's when you turn a risk into a weapon. Machiavelli believed trust should never be given freely. It should be offered like bait, a signal to draw people in, a tool to test loyalty, a means of measuring character. Because here's the secret: when people think you trust them, they behave better. They try to live up to the image you've given them. Trust makes them invested in your perception of them, and that gives you leverage. You can offer trust, just not all at once. You can show vulnerability, but only when it's calculated. You can allow others to feel close, but not close enough to truly harm you. This is the paradox. The appearance of trust builds stronger bonds than trust itself. Because people are less afraid of betrayal when they believe they're trusted. They lower their guard. They play fair, or at least fairer. So how do you use trust as control? Start small, give a little, and observe the response. Did they protect it, exploit it, ignore it, create interdependence? When others need you, they become more loyal, not out of love, but necessity. Be unpredictable. Don't always show who you trust or why. Keep people uncertain. That uncertainty is power. Withdraw trust quickly when tested. Don't wait for proof of betrayal. Act on patterns, on gut, on changes in tone. When trust is broken, move decisively. And what about being trusted by others? That's where the deepest form of control lies. When people trust you, genuinely believe in you, you can move freely. Suggest, influence, redirect. Their guard is down. Their minds are open, and their loyalty becomes easier to command. This isn't manipulation in the crude sense. It's leadership with insight, influence with discipline, control without force. Machiavelli would remind us, people want to be led, not dominated. They want to feel safe, not cornered. They respond to those they trust, even when that trust is based on carefully crafted appearances. So ask yourself now, who do you trust, and why? Who trusts you, and how much of that trust do you truly deserve? Are you in control of the narrative, or have you surrendered it in the name of connection? Because trust, in the end, is never just emotional. It's strategic. It's dynamic. It flows where power is perceived and fades where power is lost. The one who masters trust doesn't just survive Machiavelli's world, he bends it.